Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Anthony, and welcome back to the Let Me Be Frank podcast. This is episode 26, also known as the beginning of season 3. Whoop, whoop. Lame, I know. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I've missed you guys. I hope you guys are doing okay, and I hope you guys missed me too. And yeah, Let Me Be Frank by Frank Anthony. It is back. It is back on the air for at least another 3 months. Just super exciting. There's going to be new topics, some new guests, new segments that I'm going to go over actually right now. Before that, though, I do want to thank you guys so much for the continued support. If you're connected to the Instagram profile for the podcast, which is at Frank Podcast, you would see that this podcast has reached at least 9 countries, besides obviously the United States, where I'm from. So thank you guys so much for listening and for watching and for sharing and commenting, and just overall the support is tremendous and amazing. So I do want to thank you guys so much for that. And yeah, I'm going to go over the new topics. And also, for people who haven't seen my other latest YouTube video, I have a green screen now, so that's always cool. But anyway, so the new segments are going to kind of follow this layout. For me, having a guest, which I don't today, but when I have a guest, the first segment will be an interview section where we'll get to know the new guest. If it's a returning guest, we might just have a catch-up session, or we might not do an interview section. The main part of the meat of these episodes, the big meaty claws of the episodes, are going to be what's called Frankly Speaking, where there's going to be at least 2 or 3 different topics we're going to be open, honest, and unfiltered about, whether it's myself only or myself and a guest. And then the last segment is called Fishbowl, which will be you guys, the audience, sending in any questions. They can be funny questions, like silly questions. They could be serious questions. They could be completely random questions. They could be questions regarding the topics of the week or the past week or whatever. It literally can be anything, and myself and a guest will answer them. So, and because these segments are all new and stuff, we do only have one question for episode 1. But I can still definitely provide, I think, a decently longish answer. Maybe we'll see. Anyway, so let's get onto the topic. So the topics I'm going to go over in this episode are going to be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. I'm going to go over the reselling of the PlayStation 5, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about Doordash. So so let's get into the first one. More specifically, with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion, what I want to mostly focus on for anyone that had watched that is the reunion between Will Smith and Janet Hubert. Honestly, I think that's why a lot of people tuned in, because it was kind of shocking to see that Janet Hubert was going to appear there and that she was invited by Will Smith. And if you guys don't really know the history between them, I can lightly gloss over it a little bit. So, to start everything too, maybe you don't even really know The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a show where Will Smith played Will, named after his real name. He is this kid that grew up in a poor neighborhood, and then because it's kind of like an unsafe neighborhood, his mom is like, no, move in with your aunt and uncle. You're gonna move to the Bel Air, which is obviously a nicer area. And yeah, I forgot the year that show aired, so don't shoot me, but I know it ended in the year 1997. So obviously this is an older show. It's 2020 now, but it was a good show. I mean, it had a lot of comedy behind it, and then it also touched on real serious moments. And I think about this show and Family Matters. Those were 2 shows with black families that had the comedy plus real life situations. And to be completely honest, I feel like shows considered for kids or like teens today are they're very censored, and I just don't think they're shows that are taken seriously, kind of like shows back then, like those 2. I would say Full House is another show. Like, those are shows that my generation, the millennials, the oldies, the new old people, grew up with. But I guess at the same time, for Gen Z, anyone younger, I guess shows that you grow up with personally during your time might be something that's very important that helps you. So I guess I can't be the biggest judge of that. I just remember too something that I want to touch on. I'm going to try to remember to say it at the beginning of episodes from now on, is that anything I say is strictly opinion over fact. It's my opinion. So I definitely encourage you guys to also do your own research into topics or anything that I cover, because this is my thoughts. I will try to be as unbiased and open-minded as I can be, but of course also I'm going to give my opinion as well, which is obviously going to have some bias because our opinions do. But yeah, so you don't have to, pretty much what I'm trying to say is you don't have to like completely like just believe everything I say and swallow it and just like accept it. You can challenge it, of course. And I think maybe there will be some challenging voices that end up being guests on the show, which will kind of be interesting. It's nice to not always agree with someone but still have that mature conversation. So anyway, back to the show. I got a little I got a little off track, sorry for that. So yeah, so the show ended in 1997, and Will Smith and cast decided to do a reunion this year. It aired November 19th, and I know by the time this episode airs, it's going to be a little bit old news maybe. It's going to almost be a month later, I want to say, because December 9th this will air. But I feel like this is something that's really important to still discuss, and it's something that I was very curious and I wanted to know more behind it, because so for people who watch the show and to just kind of catch people back up, season 4 of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the actress Janet Hubert, who played Aunt Vivian, she was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, and which completely different looking actress. I think that's important to mention because the show never said anything about it. Like they just kind of pretended like it was still Aunt Viv and that nothing happened. But if people know who these actresses look like, Janet Hubert is a darker skinned African woman. She's taller and thinner, I would say, I'm not trying to say like Daphne's heavy or anything, but Daphne is lighter skinned and a different height and build. So it's clearly a different actress. I think that's like the main point. And people for years were wondering what the hell happened to that. How could you just replace that actress? It's not even like the character died in the show or anything or got plastic surgery. It was just like, nope, it's this person. So now that this reunion has happened and just some rumors along the way, we have finally most of the answers to what happened, to why she was replaced, and kind of some things that happened between Will Smith and Janet Hubert. So, rumors that had occurred were that Janet Hubert, it was rumored that she was difficult to work with and that she wanted to be the star of the show. In my opinion, she was kind of viewed as like the angry black woman. That's definitely how it came off at the time, I remember, and I'm going to get a little bit more into detail with all that stuff too, but that's definitely how it was portrayed. And then there was an interview, I don't remember if it was when the show was still airing or right after it ended airing in 1997, but Will Smith did an interview saying that Janet Hubert was difficult to work with, and that was why everyone had believed they took his word. I mean, he is a celebrity that I would say he has a positive image and stuff like that. Like not, like compared to other celebrities, especially during his time era, he has like, for the most part, a clean image, to some extent. So people, believed him. Charismatic guy. They're like, yeah, Janet Hubert, which by the way, too, Janet Hubert has a lot of Broadway experience. And then she came on to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It wasn't like this was her starting role or into the acting world. She was an experienced actress. So I just wanted to give that background too. But he had said she was difficult to work with, and in result, she was blackballed from the industry. And from their reunion, we found out that they hadn't talked in 27 years. That's crazy. That is so crazy. But I also don't really blame them. At least I wouldn't blame her, because if someone hurt me like that, I don't know if I would wait 27 years, but definitely at least a couple years to just kind of heal. But also, I also didn't know the extent of what she was going through until now. She kind of explained it a little bit. But yeah, so before I get into their meetup too, I just want to mention one more thing because it just reminded me that so they had a one-on-one meetup. I want to recommend a potential segment to the Let Me Be Frank podcast that we could do, that I could do with someone else. Maybe, maybe not. But you guys can recommend people to me if you would like. You can private message me or comment below. But I'm thinking about maybe doing a segment called Tough Talk. And what that would be is I would be talking to, I mean, this could be an ex friend, an ex lover, someone who's just not in my life anymore. It would be an open and honest back and forth discussion where we both really listen to one another. I'm open to doing that for most people. And I think kind of why I want to do it is I think it's important to show that we can, whether you fight with someone or not, you can still have mature discussions with people. And I want to say too, with a lot of these people, I mean, I personally don't recommend necessarily doing this with someone who is involved in, for example, things like domestic abuse or sexual abuse or anything criminal related. I don't really have people like that in my life. So at least like that would be a guest on this show that was an ex-friend or lover. But I definitely want to maybe try to do this whole tough talk segment. So if you guys who at least know me and know like certain people where I've had a falling out with them, you can recommend them to me and I can try to reach out to them and see if they're open to that idea or not. Obviously, I would respect it if they weren't open to the idea. So yeah, you can definitely let me know in the comments for that. Just a potential segment, might never happen, but you know, there might be people, I don't know how people feel about me where we've had a falling out, but maybe they'd be open to it. And I'm not looking for this to be like, oh, I want to get back with someone or I want to like have all these best friends again or whatever like that. I think it's important to try your best to let go of that anger and at least be civil. That's like the main thing. If we could at least be civil, then cool. Anyway, back to Will and Janet. Back to their drama. So 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 yeah, one thing that I noticed is Janet expressed what really upset her was Will's words and actions. So, which, and what I mentioned earlier with that was him saying she was difficult to work with. And when she had said that he had said that and other things that he had said, he wasn't, one thing I noticed was that he wasn't really like fighting that, which means he did it, which means he was guilty of it. That's how I see it. That's how I view it. So, I found that interesting. Like, he didn't really try to fight her on anything she had said this whole time. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out yourselves as well. You could search Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion online, and I bet you'll find clips on YouTube or whatever. That's how I found it. But yeah, everything she was saying, he wasn't really denying it. I don't know if it was still like soaking in. I know when I've been into certain arguments with people, sometimes there'd be so much that hurt them that I never knew hurt them, and I was just in shock. I just didn't know what to say right away. It was like, so I don't know if he was feeling that way, but she expressed a lot with that. She mentions that during season 3, so this was the season before she was just completely gone, and the reason why she was replaced was that during season 3 of the show, she was offered what she claims an unfair deal, which the way that this sounds, it definitely sounds unfair for someone who's acting. They offered her 10 weeks of work and she couldn't work anywhere else. So just like imagine any job you work. I mean, obviously this is going to make more sense to people who are in the acting field, but just in general, just think about someone offering you only 10 weeks of work and they can't go look for another job somewhere else. They just have to work this 10 weeks and then kind of be like fucked after that. Like work 10 weeks and then you're on your own. Like I don't know what else to do, or I don't know if they were going to keep her if she did this whole deal. They honestly, I don't think she went into how much money they offered her, but I'm imagining it probably wasn't that much money, but she turned it down and that's when they just cut her off, unfortunately, which is really unfortunate. I loved Janet's portrayal of Aunt Viv on the show. Not saying Daphne didn't do a good job as Aunt Viv. I think she did a great job as well. But I mean, Janet Hubert's performance thinking about episodes like the dance scene and stuff, it was just iconic. It was very iconic, that type of stuff. And it's stuff that I still remember to this day. I mean, the show aired 20 something years ago, and it's stuff like that that sticks with you and teaches you really valuable lessons. So, yeah, so she couldn't, after that had happened, she had claimed too that her family had disowned her because she had tarnished their name. No one would give her a job. Meanwhile, too, what they kind of digged into while she was on the show as well, she was dealing with demons herself at home. And this is something I can relate to a little bit as well, not to her extent necessarily, but she was dealing with abusive marriage. She was dealing with a new baby. And like I said earlier, too, her family had disowned her. So she had no family to connect to. I don't know about friends or anything like that. She didn't mention that. But she was going through all these things while having to work. And I mean, I could be open-minded with this. I definitely sympathize with her. At the same time, I used to live in some difficult living situations, and when I still went to my job, I kind of, I don't know, I guess I would just tell myself like, I not like suck it up necessarily, but I knew like I had to keep doing my job, which I'm assuming she was still trying to do as well. But I know she had mentioned too during that reunion something about it like being difficult, and the cast maybe taking it too personally if she seemed distant. That's what it was. So and that it wasn't necessarily them doing anything. It's just she was also going through that stuff. Yeah. But like I said, I can kind of, that whole thing I could kind of argue back and forth, but I'll just leave it at that for now. Oh yeah, and don't mind me too. I'm kind of looking here and there because besides my normal show notes and stuff, there was a lot of good quotes during this interview, during this reunion, especially that Janet Hubert had said that I definitely want to shed some light onto that I thought were interesting. So one thing she had said, calling a black woman difficult to work with is a kiss of death. And that is unfortunately eye-opening, especially with things that have been going on in this world lately. I obviously found that to be very interesting and unfortunate. I mean, it kind of is. I mean, in general, being blackballed sucks, and there's been tons of actors who have been blackballed, but for a darker skinned woman, I believe it is harder when that type of stuff happens, and that in general, women and women of color, they're not, whether it's the acting field or whether it's any types of jobs that I've worked personally, like a business field or anything, women unfortunately are not taken as seriously in general. I just, like, that's my opinion. I don't think they're taken as seriously. I think we've obviously come a long way compared to, like, I mean, they're not forced to stay at home and take care of the kids like years and years ago, but there's definitely still some work that needs to be done, I think. And just thinking about the media in general, I mean, I think about it, and the women of color, like, have you noticed like they're lighter shade of black, or they're Spanish, or like you don't really see the dark black skinned women and men, especially women, portrayed in like media or on TV. It's really weird. I don't know why there's like that undertone that I could maybe flirt with and say it's a little racist. I could maybe say that, but I find it interesting that that is a thing, and that that's still an issue today. It shouldn't be an issue. There's lots of things that shouldn't be issues, but we as people and individuals can be very difficult and very stubborn, and especially if you're someone who is rich and powerful in social class and race and all that stuff. Of course you don't want things to change. You're up here. Other people, they could be down there. It's like, who cares? you know, I'm assuming that's how certain people who, I guess I could say, are considered a little bit more privileged. Obviously, if the deck is stacked for them, they're not going to want to deal a new hand. Why would they? They have the winning hand. They have a royal flush. Is that the best hand in cards? I haven't played poker in a while because it's not like I can have friends over and play. So I think a royal flush, right, is the highest. If they have a royal flush, why would they want to change that hand? They wouldn't. But Yeah, another quote she had said too is this whole experience. She said it felt like she served a 30-year life sentence. I felt that was really powerful to say as well, because for being blackballed and just honestly just anything. I mean, there's certain things, certain rumors that come up that people, especially celebrities, have to live with the rest of their lives. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, Sierra. This is just an example I thought of. I to this day, people still question. So if you remember, like mid 2000s, before 2010, it was rumored that Sierra was born a man. That is not true, but people still spread that rumor. It's 2020. I don't even remember when that started. I swear it was early 2000s. Like no late. It couldn't have been later than 2006, 2008. People still think she was born a man. Like there's certain things that people have to live with forever, and Janet Hubert had to live with this whole like being difficult and wanting to have it be the star of the show because people were saying that people were making up bullshit. And it's wrong, and it sucks. And it's like, how do you repay that person? How do you can't, it's kind of like, not exactly the same, but like someone who goes to jail for a crime they didn't commit. It's like, where do they go when they're released? Because it's finally proven, if it is proven, that they didn't do it. All that time is lost. They can't get that back. It's just, nothing. It's just nothing. It's they had all that time wasted being blackballed or being accused of something that they never did or that they were never difficult. And so that's something that is very wrong, and that still happens to this day. And unfortunately it happened to her, and main reasons why I really do believe it happened was because it was not Will was not denying it at all. So that was kind of sad, and that was kind of disappointing. At the same time, though, speaking on his side, I do applaud him for really listening to her and really taking in how she felt, what she had to say, and stuff like that. I really thought he was mature through the conversation. I also wrote down too, he talked about his past as well, and this is something I think some people kind of knew about already, that he had an abusive father and that he used comedy, he used like jokes and laughter and stuff as a defense mechanism. So he kind of talked about that a little bit. So both of them were talking about that they had dark past, and that was kind of the reason why they acted the way they did. Um and I mean, I could believe it, and then at the same time I don't want to say it's an excuse like, oh, my past is why I did this, or I hit this person or committed this crime, or like I'm very back and forth with that, just because I grew up low income, and I could have easily just went down a dark path. I could have sorry, I laugh at myself because I'm like, I could have joined a gang. I can't even say it because I was so white. No, but I could have went down a dark path. I could have just decided not to really do anything with the little that I was dealt, but I did anyway. You push through. I'm not saying obviously that their past is an excuse for certain things they did, but I do just think about how people are like, oh, well, like, for example, I think about how, oh, well, the way that these people were raised, let's say for like LGBT community, that I hate gays because I was raised not to like them. Like I'm very hit or miss with that, because it's like, yeah, I could kind of believe that, but then at the same time it's like, well, like, you could just learn not to be hateful. I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I learned so much that wasn't just from my background. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, that there's so much information, especially now today with the technology that we have. There's so much information out in the world, and there's so many different communities and people that I think there's a way to discover that information, to connect with those people and learn and open up more. And I guess just not everyone is using those resources. But anyway, now I'm getting off topic again, and I apologize. I definitely went off there. Anyway, back to their discussion. Yeah, Will had said, there was a quote from Will Smith that I thought was interesting too. He said, "I didn't know the power of my words," which is also, that's something I could believe. he was a rising star during the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I can't obviously 100% relate because I mean I'm such a big rising star. No, I mean I'm not a rising star myself. If I'm ever gonna become anything, any sort of star in this world, who knows? But I think about like him and people like Justin Bieber and stuff, where their rise to fame was so fast. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like you didn't really have a big following and you didn't really have a lot of money. And then you just did. Then you just had millions of dollars, millions of followers and supporters. And it's like, it's a whole different world you have to live and kind of figure out and like cope with and figure out like, oh, like this is my life now. Like I can't just go out into the public and not get mobbed by fans and stuff. Whereas, like me, I can go out in public and like maybe get a hello. Some people it gets to their head. I think maybe with him, a little bit of the fame got to his head a little bit. That's just my opinion. I think, to be honest about it, I think he got maybe a little big headed, and maybe as time has gone on and him like building a family and really going deep into the industry for years and years, I think it started to hit him. I think he started to maybe get a little bit more humble from that. That's what I assume. And that he realized now, during this whole reunion thing that, oh, I really did affect Janet's life and I really did hurt her. And I'm sorry for that, which they both did apologize. And I was happy that she apologized too. Like I thought that was very mature for both of them to at least say sorry. I'm watching the screen like really intently and seriously, and I'm like, okay, is he gonna apologize? Is he gonna say sorry? Because I didn't know if that was gonna happen or not. I was like, maybe he's just gonna listen to her and be like, okay, whatever. But he did, and I like that she apologized too, because throughout her hurt and anger, this is something I'm very guilty of too. She had made some live videos that definitely came off as like bitter and hateful towards him, but I know deep down that was like a hurt thing. It was her whole life was shattered from this experience. So I can understand why she had felt the way she did and trying to get her story out there, and that it finally became more global when she was asked to do this reunion. Yeah, I like that. I think I mentioned this. Yeah, that I like that Will listened to her. There was a very interesting comment I saw in one of the YouTube clips with their reunion. It said that it's hard to read if actors are acting or telling the truth. That's something I definitely wanted to touch on quick, because I find that very interesting. It's something that it makes you think. It kind of makes you think. It's like, well, yeah, are they telling the truth? Like, was this all just for a show? Was this just to get ratings? Like, did Will ask her to come on for ratings? I definitely had that in the back of my mind, or because him maybe thinking like, well, if she didn't go on the reunion, not nearly as many people would have watched it, because this had become a really big story, right? So I kind of think about that in my back of my head. I'm like, did I personally believe she meant everything she said? I mean, she was talking about her pain. That's kind of hard to lie about considering the situation. So with him, I definitely had to question, like, was he really being genuine? I'm hopeful to say that he was. I really hope this whole thing wasn't a publicity stunt. I hope that I'm not saying they need to be kumbaya. They did hug. Like, at least be civil, right? Like, if you can at least be civil and put all the hatred to rest, I think that's important. And I think at least what it showed, that's what they did. So I'm happy for them that they were able to have that conversation. And yeah, a question too that was also in the comments, this came up a lot, and this is something we could kind of discuss, and you can comment below your opinions on any of this too, was that people were bringing up, should Will give Janet compensation should give her compensation for all the years that she had missed work, or help her get acting roles, or like, should he do anything? And this is something even, I thought about this a little bit, and I really don't have a black and white answer. That, to me, that's really tough to answer, because I think him helping her get a job or something, I think is nice. I don't think he needs to do that, but I think that would be nice of him to do. I don't know if he should necessarily be giving her money that he's earned himself through his jobs. That may be an unpopular opinion, but because I don't think, how do I word this? I wouldn't say he was the sole reason for her being blackballed, because I think with situations like these, there's always kind of those puppet masters in the background, aka production, that people tend to forget about. I think about reality shows especially, where, you are rooting or you're booing certain characters on TV, but then you have to remember there's people in the background who are pulling some of these strings. And I definitely think production people are to also blame for why she wasn't able to get work, because it's not like Will Smith specifically told everyone not to hire her. These people chose not to hire her. So I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously she could, if she wanted to do some sort of civil suit or lawsuit, I guess she could try, but I don't think he necessarily should be forced to give her anything. But I think it would be nice of him, considering all his connections. I think it would be nice to help her get into some show, or if he was planning on starting projects himself, like it would be nice to maybe refer her, maybe as like a recommendation, like to try to make up a little bit for all that lost time. I think, it's free. I always say that it's free to be kind to one another. So I think that's something that could happen. I wanted to just touch on one more thing with that reunion, because after they had met, they had brought Janet onto set. They brought her onto set, and to meet the rest of the cast. So what I found very interesting, and a lot of people did as well, was that Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton, he was not there. He was there for the reunion, but he wasn't there to meet with her. And I don't have a lot to talk about on it, because of course people are like, oh, he should have met with her. Some people were saying he had a busy schedule. I know he hosts a game show. I forgot. It's something to do with blackjack. I don't remember the name, honestly, but there was claims of that he just had too busy of a schedule. To be completely honest, though, whether he had the busy schedule or not, I think it's his right to want to meet with her or not. I know besides Will and Janet having their rivalry or whatever, Alfonso and Janet said a lot of things back and forth about one another, and I think he had the right to not want to meet up with her. If he still feels hurt about certain things, she may be ready to move on with him. Maybe, I don't know. I think she made a comment afterwards that wasn't the nicest, but she may be ready to heal, but he may not be from that stuff, and I think that's okay. I don't hate on him, I guess. Like, yeah, I mean, if it was me in this situation from so many years, 20 something years, maybe I would just try to bury the hatchet and be civil, but he has a right to feel the way that he does. He has a right to, you know, be there or not for that. And, he made his choice, and I don't think we should hate on that or anything. All right, so on to the next topic, which is reselling the PlayStation 5. Now, I assumed that people know what the PlayStation 5 is, but there's some people that don't know what that is. It's a video game system. It started way back with the PlayStation 1, so they're up to 5 now. That had come out November 12th of 2020. Once again, kind of seems like, oh, that kind of seems like an old story a little bit, but this topic I probably have a stronger opinion about, and it's going to be a little bit hard to, actually it's going to almost be impossible to be to be unbiased, because you're going to see why. So the PlayStation 5 alongside with the Xbox Series, which personally I've seen a lot more stories about the PS5, that's why I'm covering that. The PS5, like I said, came out about a month ago by the time this airs, and it's one of the new, systems. For anyone who plays video games, I know me growing up as a kid, I would want that new video game system. It was usually the one gift that you wanted as a kid. It was like, keep your socks. I want the video game system. I will freeze my ass off. I'll be naked and never eat again if I get that system. No, some people aren't as extreme, which is good, but the PS5 came out from Sony kind of obviously as like the new Christmas present item for kids and for teens and adults and whoever wants a PlayStation 5. Unfortunately, they were sold out within minutes, but it's not by what you would think. It's not by like this heavy consumer thing where like so many consumers just bought it right away. It's more so due to scalpers and bots. I don't really know a lot about bots and stuff and exactly what they do. I just know people use them to kind of help them buy a bunch of things, so that obviously scalpers use these so that they can resell them to the public. And you know, with the PlayStation 5, they were all bought and all sold out. So now obviously this is an item that's way more in demand because it's brand new, something people wanted. So now people who own this item, they are like, well, this is a valuable commodity. I can sell it for more now. And so what's been going on, before I get into my opinions, I'm like ready. I'm ready to fucking pounce. But but no, well, no, but yes. So there's two stories that I want to specifically focus on with this, because they're two big stories that have been covered a little bit not too long ago. And yeah, and they talk, because these scalpers talk about their success. I put in quotation marks because it's like, yeah, it made them successful, but just not in the best light. So the original price of the PlayStation 5 is, in the United States at least, is 499 American dollars. So because it's sold out, these scalpers, or scalpers in general, are selling it for more, but they're selling it for way more. The minimum that usually I can find is $1,000. Some people are selling it for $1,500, for $2,000. There was one I saw for $9,500. That is insane. That is criminal. Definitely that one. I think in general, this is all sorry, I'm getting into my opinions. I'm trying to just tell the stories first. It's so hard not to. Because to me, this is a very frustrating situation that we are in. So one of these cases, and this I want to say was in the United States, and he only gave out his name as Mark F. He had purchased 200, he didn't buy 2 systems. He didn't buy 3 or 4 or 5 systems. He bought 221 PlayStation 5 systems, and he sold them for $1,000 minimum each. He ended up getting a $40,000 profit. Let that sink in. Just let it sink in. Another group, and this is based in the UK, they are called Crep Chief Notify. They purchased 3,500 of these systems, and they have earned at least a minimum of a $2.5 million profit. So I can let's get started. Let's just get into this. Wow, that's probably the only thing I can say to maybe defend them. I'm not going to defend them, trust me, but I guess someone on the other side could say, "Oh, that's smart to do. Like they made a ton of money." Yeah, it may be smart to do, but I think it's wrong to do. It's very wrong to do that, to completely, it's not like Sony did something where to make it very unavailable. Well, actually kind of, I can sort of blame them on the way that they allowed the bots and allowed these people to buy more than a max limit. That's a whole nother story, but it's morally wrong. And I'm going to mention in a little bit too what this kind of reminds me of, this whole thing, because it's something that's already happened this year that we've gone through that is also wrong. That it's like, okay, like, I got this profit or whatever, but it's fucking wrong. It really actually upsets me, because I think about, and not even just like, because you know what, like, yeah, I could argue and say like it's wrong for the children, like the children want a system and stuff like that. But it's wrong for the parents too. The parents, at least parents try to get their kids what they want for the holidays, right? And this system already being at $500 seems like shit to some people. It's not a lot of money to people, but it's not even rent. I mean, minimum for rent that, and this isn't a bad neighborhood, it's like $800 where I live. Like, you're lucky if you can find $800 a month. And don't even think there's anything included. in that. But $500 for a game system, I mean, that's a lot of money for a lot of families. And so it's like there's already that uphill battle. Then you're going to flip it and double the price plus. So now they have to pull even more out of pocket. It's just fucking wrong. And it does make me mad. It definitely pisses me the fuck off because and sorry for the swearing. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But there's going to be a lot, at least in this part of the segment, because I think these people are fucking grimy. Chief, whatever the fuck your name is, you're fucking grimy. The guy, Mark, whatever, fuck you, Mark. You know, like you guys, but definitely fuck the group of people, because there were some quotes that they had said that I just, like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. To me, it's an excuse at the end of the day, because that group in the UK, they claim that it put food on the table and that they were financially struggling. If you were financially struggling, how the fuck were you able to buy 3,500 game systems at $500 a piece? Like, tell me that, because that's something that wasn't questioned when people interviewed, when, you know, news outlets interviewed these people. No one fucking asked that question. Right? Like, no one asked that. It's like, you weren't fucking financially struggling. You wouldn't be able to buy that many systems. And this group or something was only like 12 people or something at the time. So, like, divide that. It's like, no. Like, just stop. I'm sorry. Like, you're not... I don't believe you were struggling. I don't want to fucking hear the excuses, the bullshit. I fucking hate bullshit. Right? I hate people who try to, like, give their excuses on why they did something grimy and why they did something sleazy and shady and just complete bullshit. I hate people who do that type of shit, and I believe these people are those types of people. They're bullshitters, and they're people, I was gonna say this later, but my advice is they're people you should not buy from. You should never buy, I don't want to say never buy from a reseller, but definitely don't buy from these people. Don't buy from people who are charging double price. You know, it's one thing to charge $50 or $100 more on this 500 thing, which even that, it's like, you know, it's kind of wrong, because it's like, that's still a decent amount of money to some people, but to double the price is just fucking blasphemy. It's wrong. They said another quote that, this is the quote that really pissed me off. Let me be frank. So they said, for quote, "It may be unfortunate that a child won't wake up to a PS5 this Christmas, but another child may have woken up to nothing. We have no regrets." Fuck you. Fuck you, Crep Chief Notify. Fuck you. That is a horrible way to work. That is just a horrible excuse. Like, obviously, yes, there are people that wake up to nothing, that wake up to less, obviously. But you motherfuckers deprived people of maybe that one thing they were looking forward to for the holidays. And of course, yeah, you know, they can get something else. If this was Sony just running out because too many consumers had bought, like, that's fine. You know, that's completely fine. That does happen. That was like early bird gets the worms. But you motherfuckers cheated the system. You knew that people were going to want this new hot item. You kept them all to your motherfucking self, and then tried to get this overly expensive profit. This just, it blows my mind. You know, like, it really blows my mind how greedy we have become as a society. And what I wanted to bring up, because I had mentioned, I just want to make sure that I got all the things. That, like, really fucking pissed me off. I don't even swear that much, but honestly, reading up on all this, I was enraged for just, personally, this, to be completely honest, this doesn't personally affect me. I'm not thriving to get a PS5. I can wait. If I really wanted the system, I can wait when eventually they restock. And that's something I also wanted to say later. Just wait until they restock. Don't buy from these motherfuckers. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. So this group, I'm really mad at the group, if you could tell. I already, I'm mad at the group. So they're like a shady business altogether. Like, they are like full blown, like, they aren't just buying the systems. They're also trying to recruit you guys to also sell these systems that they get, or get into this whole bot or scalping shady fucking process. So they offer memberships. I went into their website. They monthly memberships for $30 a month, or a lifetime membership for $400 to be part of this slimy, grimy group. They probably fucking rip you off. Which, you know what though, I'm gonna rewind. I don't know for sure, so I don't want to claim that, but because that's not, which I did say this is opinion, but I would believe it. I mean, they're scamming consumers by reselling stuff so much higher that I wouldn't. I mean, it could just be another scam. You don't know. So definitely don't trust shit like that online. Wait until the stuff comes in stock. Also, we definitely, try to push Sony or other of these big manufacturers that sell the systems like Amazon and Walmart. Let them know this shit is going on and that they can do better, to do like certain caps or certain like one system per person thing, or just I mean, I used to work at Old Navy. We did it for flip-flops, for fucking cheap ass flip-flops. We did it. We limit that to customers. Why can't we limit these expensive video game systems? Like, it's possible. I think we could do it. What this reminds me of, I thought about this actually last night before filming. I had my notes or whatever, and then I was like, oh my God, this is just like this whole thing with the pandemic. When people overstocked on toilet paper and hand sanitizer, people are greedy and grimy, and there was people that were overselling that stuff, which obviously, like, I guess I don't know where to, I was going to say that would be worse, because technically that type of stuff is necessity, in quote. And technically a game system isn't a necessity, but then at the same time, people are spending a lot of money on that game system. Whereas like the other stuff, well, actually, I mean, some of that stuff was marked up. I could go back on that and say that stuff was marked up to crazy ass prices. I saw like $20 for a fucking roll of toilet paper. I mean, come on, people. Like, we are better than this. And I know that there's always going to be someone greedy in society. I mean, look at certain businessmen, certain CEOs. I'm not saying all of them. Certain ones are really greedy and they cut costs where they don't need to. Like, I get it. There's always going to be people who are greedy. But I think as a society, we do need to shed some light on shit like this. We need to open our eyes and open our hearts and say, we are all human and we all bleed red, and we should be helping each other and we should be kinder to each other. That's what I'm trying to get across. And this type of shit pisses me off, Yeah, it really... And back to the loving place. All right, so on to the third topic. I apologize slightly for my energy may have heightened from topic 1 to topic 2, but I hate when people are getting ripped off, And I know when the Nintendo Switch, when that had sold out, I don't think there was nearly as much like controversy or like resellers who were charging so much extra. Like this, I don't know, I got very fired and passionate about that. I may do that with certain topics throughout the season, but I just, I was reading up on those stories, and I will, in my opinion, I do find it to be bullshit. I know some people are like, well, that's a good business opportunity. And, if you want to do that shit, go ahead. But I definitely wanted to warn people that stuff is going on, and to just not support those people. Let those people who bought all those fucking systems, let them be stuck with all that product. And then maybe they'll realize, wow, I spent all that money for nothing. Because that's kind of what's happening with the toilet paper. Some people were trying to return some because it's so much extra. And it's like, no, you should be forced in your toilet paper kingdom. Now, like, you should be forced to live with that because you were too busy being greedy and not thinking about others. Anyway, so the last topic, I don't have a ton to talk about with it, but like, I'm not going to do the whole history of Doordash or stuff like that, but there were some things I noticed and some things I found out that I never knew about that maybe you guys knew about. But and I'm specifically focusing on Doordash because that's the one I use. I know there's certain things that happen with Uber Eats and Grubhub and Postmates, but I am going to focus on DoorDash and not all these apps in general. But anyway, so I am an avid user of DoorDash. I don't really want to admit how much I order from them during this pandemic, mostly because I was, before this pandemic, I used to order from them no more than once every 3 to 4 months. Like something relatively normal. Now, I'm trying to think. I want to say a minimum that I order is 3 days a week, 3 times. I've done a couple orders in one day at times. Yeah, the minimum's probably 3 times a week. I can admit it's a problem. I need to learn how to cook, but if you know me personally, I am that person that will set cereal on fire. So, I mean, I just got to learn though, right? Go to the grocery store, recipe book, shit. I mean, there's recipes online. Like, I can do it. I know I can. I just eh. But it's so much easier though. But yeah, I noticed while, by the way, too, I'm gonna get into a little bit of this too. I am also, because I order so much, I'm a Dash Pass user. So what that means is you pay a certain amount a month and you get, with this one, you get free delivery. And I had recently signed up with the Freedom Unlimited Chase card, credit card. I had signed up with them. I'm not recommending you sign up with the card necessarily, but I had signed up with this credit card and they offer a lot of different benefits. One of them being you get 3 months free of the Dash Pass through DoorDash, and then for the rest of the 9 months of the year, you're only charged $4.99 a month. I say only because originally they charge you $9.99 a month is the normal charge a month. So right now I'm in the process of the $4.99. I had done my 3 months already and I'm getting charged the 50% price, whatever. I noticed that I want to say I noticed a couple days ago the cost of food on the app went up. I don't want to say a lot, but like a lot, like it definitely, some of the, because I usually would choose cheaper options some of the time, at least when it came to, I obviously am ordering from small businesses, but I also would order from some of the chain restaurants as well. Those are the ones I really noticed that there was a price increase. And I was like, that's interesting, because it was like the minimum was 50 cents. And that does kind of tend to be a lot as it adds up. And you think about it too, I'm still getting charged tax, even though I'm not getting charged the shipping. It's like, there's still, how they kind of, hidden fees. I'm going to say that's the best way that I'm going to say that. But anyway, so I noticed that there was that increase. So I just started to look up if there was like some sort of update. And this is what led me to wanting to talk about this thing in the first place, because it was shocking. And it's something that I did want to shed some light onto. I mean, this is a pandemic that we've been in. You would think, because I want to say they have been, that companies like these delivery apps or food delivery places, this is our prime time. Kind of like the subscriptions like Netflix and stuff. I mean, so many people are stuck at home. They're going to order food to be delivered, or they're going to, watch more shows and stuff. You would think this is, which obviously Netflix, probably a way different story compared to this. But I'm thinking with DoorDash, they got to be making bank with their company. I mean, everyone's ordering food. I found out they have for 2020, they have a net loss of $149 million. What? How are they losing so much money? I realized that was part of the reason. That's what I had researched, that was part of the reason why the prices were going up on food, which kind of makes sense. They're trying to obviously get out of the red, but I mean, that's a shit ton of red. Bingo. Bankrupt. No, I mean, that's just a lot. Like, that is a lot to be negative on. And during a pandemic, I just find that suspicious, because it's like, what were you doing the other years when there wasn't a pandemic? Like, were you even more in the red? And I think it said that they were. So that was very strange to me. And then I saw there was a certain scandal that had occurred through that site. And like I said, the other food delivery things, there's certain disadvantages that they have with their apps as well. So I'm not trying to pick on DoorDash, but it's something that I definitely noticed, and it kind of makes me think more about, because I order there so much. It definitely makes me kind of second guess things in general. And for anyone who works for DoorDash or any of these companies, definitely comment below your experience with them. You guys can probably provide even more knowledge than I would never be able to get just from researching online, because you would actually experience it yourself. So definitely share your story or send in certain comments or whatever, message me, hit me up. But yeah, so before the scandal too, I wanted to get a little bit into my whole, like, I have the Dash Pass, kind of wanted to get into that experience a little bit to just let you guys know if it's worth it or not. Because when you think about it, it's $10 a month. So delivery fees on these things, they range from crazy amounts, honestly. Like, some restaurants are still free, I want to say, even without the membership. I think sometimes some of them go free delivery anyway, which I'm like, okay, cool. But there's certain delivery fees that are 99 cents, and I've seen some that go all the way up to $7.99, which is just like, what? It's a lot. I mean, that's definitely a good amount. Obviously, your other choice is just not to order the food, obviously, but I was like, that's really high. So I figured this whole Dash Pass thing would be worth it, to save money. And for someone like me who orders a minimum of 3 times a week, it ends up being worth it. And especially when I had the free months and only paying the $5 a month right now, and paying the 10 eventually, like, it is worth it, because each order, I mean, you're saving, it can range, like I said, you're saving either $1 to $8. And then I also noticed you're saving on some of the tax, because if you're paying for the delivery, they actually charge tax on the delivery as well as your order. So I'm like, well, that's fucking cute. So so it gets really costly, to order. And I saw people kind of joke, but it's really serious how you could try to order, for example, like 2 tacos and a drink, and you're paying like $30 after all these fees, $30-$40. And it's like, what? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, but yeah, my experience with them has been kind of on and off. I do want to say that if you're someone that only orders once a month, or like once every other week, like once every 2 weeks, I don't think the Dash Pass is worth it for that, because then you're kind of just paying monthly to just, barely cover anything. I think you have to actually be actively, because I'm even trying to think if once a week is worth it, and it might be barely. Like, you definitely, if you're ordering more than once a week, I would get the Dash Pass. Otherwise, I don't think I would. It's probably the reason I kept it, because I'm still getting the 50% off, the $4.99 a month. So it's definitely worth it. I've probably saved like a minimum of $30 a month. I probably could be saving more if I just didn't, I don't know, order fucking food. But that's another problem I have. That's a personal problem. Anyway, I found out last year, huge lawsuit with DoorDash. And like I said, this could happen with the other companies as well, but specifically I saw for DoorDash, this whole tip scandal thing. And this is where, if you work for the company or used to work for the company, definitely share your experience if you feel comfortable sharing your experience. But there was this whole tip thing that I read up on it, and it's just like, it's bullshit. I definitely want to call you people out. Whoever, I don't remember who owns DoorDash. I forgot to write their name down, but the guy it was a guy that's the CEO of DoorDash. It's like, you're shady. And I heard it's still happening. I heard, not confirmed, but that's obviously wrong. But so there's something that, for their whole tip thing, it says in their quotes on their app, 100% of the tips goes to the dasher. And that's not true. We found out that 100% of the tip does not go to them, and it's crazy. I'm going to give the example of what they do. So let's say you order food and you're that asshole that decides not to tip anything. So they supposedly, dashers are kind of guaranteed a flat rate, but I don't want to say guaranteed like a per hour thing. I'm not sure if this is true, Grubhub does hourly rates even when you don't have orders. I heard that. You can comment below if that's true or not. DoorDash pays you obviously by orders, like most of them do. So for each order, there's kind of like a flat rate of, it was either $7 or $10. I think it used to be 10 and maybe it's 7 now, or vice versa. Don't remember, but it was either $7 or $10 that they're supposed to get as a flat rate. So let's go with 7, and let's say that you don't tip the Dasher. The Dasher supposedly will still, the company will still pay the Dasher $7. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, at least there's still, because of like some asshole customer deciding not to tip anything, at least they're still getting some sort of commission. It's not like it was all just a waste, because that sucks. Like, think about it, you have to use gas to do this, and you don't, and like I said, ordering food is not a necessity. There is ways to get food, there's other ways to get food and stuff. You don't need to always be ordering food. So I can definitely be open-minded with that, even though I am an avid food orderer. But like, that's a perk. It's like a optional benefit type thing to get delivery. That's what I'm trying to get at. So now let's say you do tip, which I always tip. I usually tip 20%. There's been a couple cases I've done more. I think there was a time or two that I did like 15 to 18%, which I felt bad. I just was kind of struggling on money. Probably should have been ordering food, Frank. But yeah, most of the time I've tipped 20%, whatever. So let's say that let's say you tip $10. So the company, what they were doing, this is where like the scandal comes in place. They would because I forgot what the flat rate was for a second. We're going with 7, right? So they would or no, did I do this right? Oh crap, I don't know if I did the math right. I forgot what no, sorry, I did wrong example. Rewind. So okay, the flat rate, we are going with 7. They didn't tip you $10. They tipped you $3. That's what it is. They tip you $3 for a meal. So what the company was doing was, because there was a $7 flat rate, you would think in general, oh, as a Dasher, I'm still getting the $7 and then that additional 3, so I'm gonna get $10. That's what I got mixed up on with the 10. No, what the company was doing was, because you were tipped 3, they were going to give you $4 instead of 7, so that you were still just making that 7 flat. Almost kind of like the person tipping you was paying you your flat rate or your income. DoorDash, what the fuck? Like, that is not cool. Like, that is obviously illegal and not right. Well, I don't know if that's 100% illegal, but it's not right. And I want to say it must have been some sort of illegal, because there was a lawsuit and they said they would stop. And I had heard from multiple sources that they have not stopped doing that they're still doing that. And the recommendation was to do cash tips instead, so that obviously the person is directly getting that money. I've heard too, I mean, I haven't been a waiter, but I've heard that when people pay with card, that the restaurant takes a certain percentage. And I kind of know that little bit from just being being a small business owner myself, where when I would have charge card purchases, I want to say, like, depending on the card company, they could charge like 2 to 7% or something from each one. So that's why they always say tip cash, so that the person you're tipping gets 100% of the profit. So that's a recommendation if you do use this stuff. But it definitely makes me second guess DoorDash and companies like that. If we should be supporting them, or what we probably should be doing, and that's actually ordering through the restaurants themselves. Because, some restaurants still do delivery. And I remember I used to bitch and complain about, like, oh, that restaurant's doing like $1 delivery fee or $1.50. Trust me, you're probably saving way more money than going through all these fees through these types of apps. So it is a little tough for me to talk about this, because obviously I like the app to a certain extent. I wouldn't be ordering so much food from them, but I do want to be open-minded about it and say that other side of it, that certain things they've done is wrong. And something that I forgot about too, or that I learned more about with Dashers, is that they're considered independent contractors, which means they don't get benefits or a minimum wage. So they, live off of this, and it's kind of wrong that the company was taking advantage of their profit and pocketing some of it. And then you're still negative. Like, what the fuck is wrong with that business model? Like, you're cheating and you're still losing. How are you still losing the game? You're literally cheating the system. One more thing too I wanted to address too was I thought about that I also learned with this whole thing, because obviously a bunch of restaurants are connected through these apps, and I thought about the positive, to defend them and say, oh, well, this is helping with restaurant exposure. That, there's a couple places I never knew about. I haven't lived where I lived for very long, so there's a couple places I learned about that I'd never seen before, and I learned about them because they were on the Doordash app. So it was kind of cool for that exposure. However, I learned that a lot of restaurants aren't even really loving DoorDash. They're kind of like depending on them because they know so many people are ordering delivery, but they don't really love them either because DoorDash is taking 40% profit from these restaurants, from their orders. And I'm noticing too, that's another reason why the prices have gone up on the food. So that, because the restaurants, you got to think about it from all different business perspectives, that the restaurant needs to make money and DoorDash needs to make money. I don't know how they're not making money through everything that they've done. And hopefully these restaurants are getting ripped off because of apps like DoorDash taking too much of the revenue. And it makes sense to me why certain prices are going up, so that I guess I don't bitch about it like I did when I first saw it. There was a certain drink I order that's like $2 and now it's like $2.56. I'm like, what the fuck? $2.56? Come on. All right, so now we're gonna end this whole thing with Fishbowl, which are the questions. We only have one question. Thank you for the individual that asked the question, which was the Chaotic Neutral Pod. You should go check out their podcast, by the way. Search Chaotic Neutral Podcast or Chaotic Neutral Pod. They had asked our question for this week, and they had asked, is this Christmas shopping season going to be more hectic? And I didn't really prepare myself. I didn't read the question a bunch of times and really think about my answer. So this is really off of the fly. I mean, to go back to this whole PlayStation controversy thing, I could definitely believe that the holiday season is going to be more hectic. I mean, people are already doing batshit crazy stuff online, so I wouldn't be surprised. And, I'm not going to get into a whole mask debate and stuff. I feel like that just happens too much. In general, I'm trying to take a break from all that. That's a whole nother debate, but, I mean, I think people, regardless of the masks, I think people are still gonna go out and crazy shop. But then at the same time, there's people who are big enforcers of wearing a mask, and there's people who are enforcers of, I'm not gonna wear a mask. So I think there's gonna be a lot more clash during that, because there's gonna be, I think there's gonna be fighting in general. I think because of this pandemic, maybe Black Friday shopping wasn't as violent. I'm not 100% sure on that because I didn't go out for Black Friday shopping, but I know a lot of stores weren't doing in-person shopping this year compared to previous years. So maybe some of that diminished. I think if anything, it's going to pick up during this Christmas season. Fortunately, most of the Christmas gifts I already got through, whether it was a Black Friday deal or a Cyber Monday deal. Black Friday deal being online. I did all my shopping online so far. Probably will. But I think I think the shopping season's definitely gonna be hectic. I would like to think that because of online shopping, regardless of the online shopping, I think definitely there's gonna be people acting crazy, people acting before thinking. I think this kind of goes back to the point that I said, let's try our best to be kinder to one another. Even off of this episode, I could say I need to do more of that. So cussing people out. But yeah. So I mean, that's my answer for that. Yeah, I want to thank Chaotic Neutral Pod for asking that question. And don't worry, there's a bunch of other people that I want to thank. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening and for watching and supporting. I want to thank my producer, Monica Leigh. I want to thank I almost blanked. I want to thank John Moon, also known as Blonde Goblin. I had connected with him I had found him on TikTok, and then we had connected through Fiverr. I want to thank him for the intro and outro music for season 3. So thank you to that. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and supporting. By the way of supporting, I also have a Patreon that will be in the description below. If you'd like to become a producer or executive producer, you can pay one of those tiers. It's a monthly, either $5 or $10 a month, and you get these benefits from doing that, and shout outs and big thank yous for doing that. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can also buy merch. I've been working on some new stuff. I promise I'm going to be getting that stuff out hopefully as soon as possible. I'd love to get it out during this holiday season and stuff like that. I am working more on that. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much once again. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe if you're following audio version too. I hope you guys have a super special awesome day, and bye.